Hello everyone and welcome back to the Entertainment Lab. As season 2 of Homecoming is just around the corner, I'm your host the Spoiler King, summarize season 1 for you, and that within 5 minutes. So do check out our whole video. And before we begin, hit the subscribe button and press the bell icon. And after this point, there are some huge spoilers ahead. In 2018, Walter Cruz, a soldier serving for United States Army, volunteers for a support center which assists ex-servicemen to reintegrate with the civilian life. There, he meets a counselor Heldy. Forwarding it to 2022, Heldy is now working as a waitress when she is approached by Thomas Carrasco, who works for the Department of Defense. He tells her that he is following up on a former complaint made by an employee that Cruz was held there against his will. To which Heldy replies that she has no memory of Walter. At the Homecoming Center, Walter meets Joseph, with whom he has served. As of lately, he became a little bit paranoid. He believes that it is all shame and they are not even in Florida. While in 2022, Thomas meets Walter's mother, Gloria, who is quite surprised by the fact that Heldy Bergman did not remember Walter. In 2018, Scherer and Walter somehow manages to steal a van. They drove for hours before coming across an empty downtown, but they are told that it is a retirement community. Colin, Heldy's boss, expels Scherer and wants Walt to be gone as well, but somehow Heldy convinces him to let Walter stay. In 2022, Heldy meets her ex-boyfriend, remind her of Collins, but she did not have a clue of what he was talking about. Meanwhile, Thomas reviews old record and finds that Walter and Heldy left the facility on the same date, May 15, 2018, when Walter was expelled for violence and Heldy was hospitalized. Thomas now goes to a guy's group, the parent entity which ran Homecoming, and meets Colin, who says that he does not remember Homecoming or Heldy. On the other side, Heldy is quite upset due to her memory gaps, so somehow finds her old phone and calls Colin, who hangs up on her. Coming back to 2018, Heldy develops a kind of bond with Walter. She also returns the harmonica to him, which they have taken from Scherer. When Collins found out, she lectures her about its consequences on their program, which was eradicated PTSD via medication. While in 2022, Thomas now tracks down Scherer, who is not quite mentally stable at the moment. So, he goes to Tampa to intimidate Heldy. But he was shocked to see Thomas' business card in a jar. Back in 2018, Gloria thinks that Geist Group has ulterior motives. So, she goes to facility and urges Walter to leave, but he resisted because he has fallen in love with Heldy, which ultimately forces her to make a complaint to DOD. In 2022, Collins found Heldy, who still has no recollection of him. So he introduced himself as a military conductor. He takes her on a date. Heldy thinks that something is wrong, but she doesn't know what it is. At Homecoming facility, Heldy was shocked when she noticed that Walter has no recollection of one of his memories. He also has no idea about Lexi's death, which he detailed in the previous session. When she goes to Collins and talks to him about these memory gaps, Colin let it slip that the success of the program means these soldiers can be deployed again. In 2022, Thomas approaches Gloria when the latter gives him the tapes of Walter's session with Heldy. Heldy is shocked to hear those tapes, so she asks Hunter aka Colin to accompany her on her venture to find Colin. Meanwhile, Thomas is unable to find any leads, so he decides to break into a Homecoming facility. At the time, Colin and Heldy are exploring an adjacent office building with the same layout. Thomas sees them through the window. Just then, something brings back her memory of Colin. She runs from him as Thomas starts chasing both of them. Soon, she pushes Colin into a fountain and leaves with Thomas. Back in 2018, Walter enters the 6th week of the program and he is quite excited about the redeployment. This upsets Heldy very much, who decides to join him for lunch. Even though the food is loaded with high dosage of memory erasing drugs, she decides to discharge Walter and leave Homecoming herself. But she loses her memory as soon after this. All of this makes Colin very furious and he falsifies the record to claim that Walter was sent home for violent misconduct. While in 2022, Thomas has escalated the complaint and Collins decides to set Heldy up as a rogue employee, but his new boss suggests otherwise. Meanwhile, Heldy drives to a diner where she meets Walter and talks to him. After he leaves, Heldy gazes a silver wheel and notices that it is arranged in the same manner, just as he used to in her office. The season ends with Colin taking the blame for all of it, and Audrey, his boss, rubs the memory deleting drugs on her waist. Thank you very much for watching this video. If you like it, hit the like button, and for more such content like this, subscribe to our channel.